We're still on Good Morning, Anambra. How happy we are that we are still here trying to make you happy in the program Good Morning, Anambra. I'm still here with the Chidima Orano.
Yes, Chidima Orangwa, not
Orangwa, okay. It's still the same thing.
Nwa
is there. So.
Discuss one of the topical issues we have here today.
Okay, skill acquisition has been topmost in the minds and program of this present administration. And then a lot of people have been equipped to really get themselves so much to do to help themselves in life. And the state government is also promoting, educating people, enhancing them so that they get something doing for themselves. And that is why our point of focus this morning is on promoting skill acquisition. To really help us talk about that, we have in the house here Mr. Emeka Ozumba, Chief Media Officer to the Governor. Emeka, I want to say welcome to Good Morning, Anambra.
Good morning. Good morning, the Anambra.
I am aware that you also attached to Her Excellency, Chief Willie, also DME.
Yes, I work with the wife of the Governor, Her Excellency Chief Mr. Bele Chukwuobiano.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's start. Sometime recently, we are aware that Her Excellency, in promotion of her cafe program, actually organized individual, brought them together for equipping them, for them to have skills. It really happened recently. Can you give us an update on that and concerning this skill acquisition?
Okay, I would. Yes, there's something like that going on even as we speak, but it's not the first time. But maybe we should take a global view. You say promoting skill acquisition. It's not like it's what is skill acquisition? I'm not trying to define it, but it's given. It's very clear. But the important thing is that why is it necessary to have a skill? Sometimes we grow up, you go to school, you are expected to come out with some qualification. But within a period of time, you found that there's a gap in terms of employment and employability. What skills do you have? Like when you go for an interview, you are asked for certain qualification. But these days, white-collar jobs are few and far between. They are no longer as. How many ministries did you have, for instance, since 1980? How many do we have today? You see, it's static, it's not growing. But the population is growing. Our population shows that we have a large percentage of youth population who are out there. So how many people will retire in a year? How many can be absorbed to fill the spaces there? So you see, the employment gap is quite huge. So how do you prepare yourself to get that? The competition is stiff.
Okay, we're going to go into that. Let's watch. Let's watch something. Let's watch something while we continue. Sorry. Yes, let's watch a little bit of something that will help us get into the
exactly.
Of that.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
So let's watch.
You have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. I get this sense of satisfaction and fulfillment when I help the needy. And this is something that I didn't just start today. It's something I've been into a better part of my life, because the Bible says that whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me. And I believe in God. And I know that this world is a surgeon. So I want at the end of the day to go back home to my Creator. And that means making heaven. And I believe strongly that the things we're doing here will create that gateway.
Nothing seems to gladden the heart of Chief Mrs. Ebelechukwu Obiano as much as uplifting the lots of the less privileged in our society. An act she has done for decades.
My wife and I used to helping the needy. This we've done for over 20 years. But, she would like to visit with my daughter to the less privileged. They will share the rice, give them clothes, and my daughter will come back excited that such a thing was going on.
Fondly called Osedieme, her passion for putting smiles on otherwise sad faces started years ago as a private citizen and has continued till date, complementing the various welfare programs of her husband, Chief Willie Obiano, the governor of Anambra State.
Okay, from what we've watched, is still the cafe going on. Yeah. Her Excellency giving, incentives to indigent people, and at the same time, giving them something that will help them to equip themselves to start working. You really talked about it. So how far so far? How is it going?
Very well. It is important to understand that because we've established there's a gap. The wife of the governor statutorily is not an elected government official. She's just the wife of the governor. But it's a common practice for wife of governors to have an NGO that they keep busy while their husbands are doing their executive job. And that's essentially what it is. So what we've seen from the clip you've seen, you notice the narrator said, complementing the work of the governor. She doesn't have a vote, which means there are no statutory allocations. So how does she do what she does? So she gets some donations from philanthropists, people like you and I who who have identified with what she's doing under her NGO, which she established in 2014, Caring Family Enhancement Initiative. And since then, people have been donating to the cause. She's done several programs, but for the as a concerned skill acquisition program, there are a number of programs under that roof.
I want you to tell us more about them.
Good. There is nothing wrong, for instance, for a lawyer to decide to make dress. You have opportunity to do tailoring and fashion design. There are people who do pastries. She also conducts trainings for people who can do pastries in bakery and confectionery. There are also opportunities for people to learn skill in plumbing, even POP making, telephone repairs, things like even carpentry in certain cases. And some people
like the one that is on the screen.
And you've seen, okay, for instance, people who do tailoring, because of the number of people who do that, what she does is that there's a training app. You are trained first of all, and on graduation, she empowers you. That is why you have skill acquisition training and empowerment. So the empowerment leg is where she, for instance, if you're shortlisted among 50, for instance, who are supposed to train on there.
Okay, how does that shortlisting work? And how do you get people to be trained?
Now, as I speak to you now, from records, she has trained over 3,600 since inception. As I speak to you, there is a training going on. There are 350 candidates who are currently undergoing training in various skills. These areas I've mentioned, computer repairs and all that. How are they shortlisted? You hear often when an announcement is made, go to the office of the wife of the governor to register. Of course, there are criteria. You don't go there because you are able-bodied and you have all the requisite qualifications. This is bid making. Various, programs. One of her criteria is that she's looking at helping the helpless. There's also that word, indigent. But you find out in that means mostly widows, women who have little or nothing to do. Of course, a number of youths, women and youths. So those are the people. It's been so successful that you find out that people who are even gainfully employed are coming to register. But, because the criteria is quite strict, they tend to register. And then there's one particular Because we have 21 local governments made up of over 179 communities, there's a deliberate attempt to ensure there's a spread.
I was coming to that, trying to find out how do you get to all the local governments
If you
and
come
then
in,
pick individuals.
if you come into the office, you register. The table there, the chart is there, your name, your previous qualification, if any. Which skill do you even want to do? Where are you from? Which is your town? Which is your local government? What would you want to, once you meet all those questions? What happens is that when she looks at her income stream and finds out there's a pool of money to start off, she leverages relationship with organizations. For instance, like the 350 that are currently ongoing is happening with, going on at Mary Sumner Vocational Training Institute, because she doesn't have all the tools. So she pays these people to use their tool. And at the end, because that's what they do, she doesn't have her own school per se. But there is also some government leg to the skill acquisition program. Like you have some skill acquisition training centers across the state. Sometimes they use, depending on where the offering can come quickly. So right now you have these 350 people going on in tailoring, computer repairs, confectionaries, hairdressing, and all that.
Okay, just for the information, if you are still watching us on this screen, the numbers are there on your screen. What we expect you to do is to make contribution or ask questions and see how you can get involved in acquiring a skill which the state government is really up to now.
Yes.
Make your contributions by using the phone lines.
And I suppose that after the skill acquisition, you empower them, like we saw here on the screen. You give them sewing machine and all that. So how do you keep a database of how people that's coming, so that they don't come back again? Probably they might just go and sell off the sewing machine and come back for.
Beautiful question. One of the, if you in one of the graduation of the trainees, you will hear Her Excellency, the wife of the governor, tell them, look, I'm not doing this because I need to give you money and then you come back and you don't make use. I feel happy and satisfied when I get a report that this little nudge I gave you had made you to employ another person. She doesn't expect that you go and build a shop. You can do, these are things you can do in front of your house. You start until you grow. Neighbors will know you. You can sew and all that. And before you know it, like small acorn, grow like a big, huge tree. And you become an employable labor from 1 to 2 and all that. That's one. And you find out that within the pool, for instance, like these people who are recorded now, most of the names are transferred to a computer base. So when there's a record, when there's a new entrant, which we often come to announce in ABS and all that, you look at those pools. Once in a while, you find people who want to strain. Of course, in every 12. Register. I register for tailoring. Ujena office, unye governor. Ulu reba enwe desk officers not there. Na section eba ulu ajonya ajuju dianga. What do you want to do? In your form, you feel. If you meet the criteria, they will enter your name in the database. And now what happens is that when the time comes for your own, they will pull the names and call names and tell you where to report for the training. It's as simple as that, you know. So
I was coming to it because there are people who are watching us who
yes.
are really interested to key into this program.
Yes.
So how do you get started? You must come to the office of Excellency.
Yes,
what
because
about those who are living in very far remotest areas?
No, you see,
how do you get them?
Part of what, of course, for how do they say it in Igbo?
Just think.
If you are the one who will bring yourself out to be trained, that's one. And we've said this is the point where you can do that because it's a process. That's one. Beyond the ones we are talking about now, because it's also part of sensitization. In the non-agate, if I need a general office, governor. If I register for training, Then when they never agwa figure me, it then have again their phone number, their phone, their local government. It they change any now. I say again about.
Now, when who are disabled, who really want to acquire skills, must it always be that they will come to Her Excellency Sophia? I asked that question before. Does it mean they must come there, or do you have a way of reaching them who are in most villages down there? Like the person is calling from, but they might be strong enough to come there. What about those who cannot access these?
And those who are not aware of this skill acquisition that is going on?
If the way to, you need to understand that there are various opportunities for people in the States. People who are calling in because they had us. That's one angle. It's part of the sensitization. However, because it is a process, because it is arranged in such a way that it is the fund that is available that determines how many people you can take at a point in time. It is done in streams. And again, the wife of the governor, in collaboration with Ministry of Women Affairs, normally undertake tour of communities every year. When she goes on such tours, it's also an avenue. When she often says it every time when she's out there and said, go and register in my office. Come, I'll train you free and empower you so that you get something doing. Those are some areas of, apart from radio announcements. Onye maluna ocholu odi enyemaka oje na office nwunye governor odi afia inaba obosi elulu a short list from the list. Then they say, okay, the money that philanthropists have donated in support of cafe training program is enough to undertake. There's a process.
Needs to support
no,
that.
because apart from donations from philanthropy, of course, the wife of the governor puts her own income. But the difference is that it's not like the government gives them. No. Some of the things, like she said, whether it's meant for Anambra and you see, of course, it is done in such a way that priority goes to people from Anambra State. It's not that anybody is excluded, because there are other programs she does, like when you were talking about people who are handicapped and all that, donation of wheelchairs. People resident in Anambra take opportunity of what is available. You understand? You can, the issue of regarding your local government area of residence is to make sure there's is proportionate. It's not like you take people from one area. It's not that people outside are excluded, but it's just to make sure that if you've been a resident in Anambra State for over 20 or 10 years, you grew up here, you have a local government where you stay, you have a place, you understand? You must be able to show your area. That's what, so when they screen, they have those criteria. They will pre-qualify people, Okay.
Go ahead. Hello?
Hello.
So you mentioned the amount of money that comes in determines the number of people that will be accommodated in this scheme.
Just like any investment you're making. For instance, we have 350 people at Mary Sumner now training in various fields. You have to pay them for their facility. Some are boarded. Some come from maybe people who come from the villages. So it involves, at the end of the day, there has to be a certificate before she even comes in with the equipment and the stipend and a little startup support that she gives when they are graduating. So how much can you take? It's dependent on your...
Now, in the form of trying to run up, because time is no more on our side, what is the essence of this promotion of skill acquisition?
It's not promoting skill acquisition. The wife of the governor is, by virtue of her position beside the husband, works for the betterment, if I might use that word, and well-being of the Anambra. And one of the ways she does that is to make sure that there are people within the family who have the necessary wherewithal to put food on the table. Unemployment is, poverty is pervasive, privation and all those things. But widows who are unable to, for the upkeep of the family and all those things, when they are able to do it, we have a plethora of examples across the state, people who are already making, and those are the things that...
we'll not take more calls. A word of advice to people who are really itching to get involved.
Beyond what the wife of the governor is doing, the Ministry of Youth and Entrepreneurship Development also have skills acquisition centers across the state. The Federal Training Center in Baku was acquired by the state government and equipped to train people. Over 5,000 was trained sometime last year. There are several, and then sometimes some people are trained and they have opportunity to graduate and move on depending on their needs. They can have access to Anambra State Small Business Agency for small scale loans, because you now know what to do and you know where to apply. Some of those things give you the qualification to apply for such loans and get the necessary guarantee to get the money yourself when the small stipend they give is not enough for you. So it's not just what they want for. So hers is complementary. So there's a lot of opportunity out there for people who really want to learn some other trade. Handy, and that's the idea. So more people who get engaged, you have a number of people who are taken out of the labor market for that fact. And then, of course, you know, the idle hand is a devil's workshop. So, and it's just about maybe climbing a bike and riding Okada and doing all those things. Those things are more sustainable, and that is the idea.
Okay, I want to thank you so much, Emeka Ozumba, for really coming on board to talk about promoting skill acquisition. Hopefully some other time we're going to invite you to really amplify on this, because so many calls are still coming. A lot of people are still interested to really be involved in the whole exercise.
Thank you very much.
I want to say thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, that's much we take on these segments. I want you to stay with us, be glued to your TV set as you enter into the next segment. Stay with us.